Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Henna Zuberi, and I'm the director for the DC Office of Justice for All. Our campaign, Burma Task Force, has organized this conference today, and today, this is the last session of the day. It's the final session for the conference, and we are going to be now discussing challenges and signs of hope, possible roadmaps for Rohingya advocates. Throughout the day, we've been discussing building partnership, building solidarity, taking a close look at needs in Rakhine State, as well as needs in Bangladesh during the COVID-19 crisis. We've also spoken to commissioners from the United States Commission of International Religious Freedom, as well as Rohingya leadership from the ground in the UK, in Malaysia. And wrapping it all up will be our amazing panelists that we are welcoming to the panel today. So my first panelist that I'd like to introduce all of you to is ShweMaung. ShweMaung is a Rohingya rights activist and a politician who has served as a member of parliament in the House of Representatives for the Butindong constituency between 2011 and 2016. In parliament, ShweMaung consistently and tenaciously fought for the Rohingya people. Currently, ShweMaung serves as the board of members of the Asian Parliamentarians for Human Rights, APHR, and is the founding member of the International Panel of Parliamentarians for Freedom of Religion or Belief, as well as the president of the Arakan Institute of Peace and Development. ShweMaung has previously consulted with former US Presidents Barack Obama and Jimmy Carter in Yangon to discuss the Rohingya genocide. In addition, ShweMaung is a 1995 recipient of the UNESCO Peace Prize. He's a mechanical engineer by profession from the Yangon Institute of Technology and has been working as a Rohingya activist now based in the United States. Thank you so much for being here, ShweMaung.
You are very welcome, Sister Hannah. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, Minglawa. I feel very honored to speak at this very important event of genocide and war crimes in Burma. We are also remembering third anniversary of genocide against Rohingya. Today, I would like to talk about Myanmar upcoming election on November 8, 2020. In terms of Rohingya crisis, the election in 2015 and upcoming one in November 2020 are not only political issue, but also connected with genocide against Rohingya. I served at Myanmar Union Parliament from 2010 to 2015 by representing persecuted minority Rohingya from my constituency of Butindong Township of Arakan State. I personally witnessed genocide in 2012, and I outcry for the full-fledged citizenship of Rohingya community, as well as justice for the crimes against humanity and peaceful coexistence between Rakhine and Rohingya inside parliament and outside parliament. In January 2014, a fire broke out at Duchiaden village of Maung, south of Arakan State of Burma, which destroyed 16 homes and killed a number of people. In that regard, I criticize about the fire broke out under the control of local police, according to eyewitness called me over the phone. In this regard, former President U Thein Sein sent an arrest warrant to the Speaker of the Union Parliament for me for my criticism to the Democratic Voice of Burma. So the case is still open, at the Myanmar police force in Burma. And then in 2015, the president thinks in revoked temporary ID cards and did not order Immigration Department to issue citizenship cards according to 1951 Resident Registration Act and 1982 Citizenship Law. Instead, Immigration Department introduced and issue so-called National Verification Card, NVC card, which is illegal as per existing law. President U Thein Sein government violated existing laws, and the Union of Myanmar Constitutional Tribunal ruled out that temporary card holders are ineligible to vote despite these cards are only issued to the citizen by law. And then the parliamentary election laws were amended. In this connection, more than 1 million Rohingya were disenfranchised in 2015 general election, first time in Myanmar history. Rohingya and other Muslim MP candidates were not allowed to contest in the election. For myself, being a sitting member of parliament, I was denied to run for my office again by accusing my both parents were not citizens when I was born. In fact, it was bogus and laughable because my father was a retired police officer and my parents are senior citizens of Myanmar. After that, I was invited to brief human rights situation of Rohingya and then election status at the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission of the House at the Capitol Hill in September 2015. After the briefing, Voice of America Burmese section interviewed me, and I told that 2015 election would be unfree and unfair as 1 million Rohingya and their MP candidates are disenfranchised. For this comment, former Myanmar President Office sent another letter to the Speaker of the Union Parliament, Thura Shwe, to take action against me. Can you imagine how serious it is? Since then, I remain in United States. Again, on August 27, 2017, I requested Myanmar government leaders through my Facebook page live to protect and save innocent Rohingya from extrajudicial killing by local security forces. Myanmar police force opened a police case against me under counter-terrorism law instead of stopping killing of innocent people. It is so serious and very shocking. So because of my request, sincere request to the Myanmar State Councilor and Myanmar military chief, so they responded my request as extrajudicial killing to the innocent people, although I requested to protect them. So finally, because of that genocide against Rohingya happened in 2017, 1 million Rohingya were expelled from their homeland to neighboring country Bangladesh, and several thousands of Rohingya were killed, several hundreds of homes and villages were destroyed. So as we all are aware, now Myanmar government is facing genocide case at ICJ, also deportation of Rohingya case at ICC, and then IIMM has been investigating and preparing files to charge Myanmar government at the International Tribunal, National Tribunal, or where appropriate. So when we talk about this forthcoming election in 2020, still Rohingyas are not included in the voters list of forthcoming election. And a number of MP candidates from the Democratic and Human Rights Party and National Democratic Party for Development, these are two Rohingya party, representatives from their parties, we have submitted their paperwork to the relevant district election commission, but they are waiting what the decision will be. It looks like these all Rohingya MP candidate may be rejected again like 2015 because they are not recognizing our Rohingya as a citizen. Therefore, they don't want our Rohingya MP candidates in the forthcoming election. It happened 2015 under the USDB administration. But now, this is NLD administration led by Aung San Suu Kyi. But it looks like still the same policy. What the disenfranchised Rohingya from the election in 2015 are not by law, but by policy. But NLD administrations, looks like they are still same policy. Therefore, I would like to request United States government, United States Congress, and the whole international community to give enough pressure to the government of Myanmar so that Myanmar government will allow Rohingyas to vote and to be elected in forthcoming general election on November 8, 2020. Also, as a conclusion, I would like to thank the minority ethnic leader of Burma, as we had a roundtable meeting yesterday. All major ethnic minority leaders were there, from Rakhine, Karen, Kachin, and Rohingya as well. So we, in principle, we agree to form a network so that we can move forward together. We can speak for each other together. We can advocate and we can advance our rights together, not separately, by a collective way. So for that, I really appreciate. At the same time, I would like to request the citizens of Myanmar inside the Myanmar, so please share the pain of a persecuted ethnic by others. When Rakhine people have pain, we need to share. When we have pain, Rakhines, Karen, Chin, Shan, and other ethnics should share. So in that way, we can fight for our human rights and we can advance our advocacy so that all ethnics of Burma, we can live in our ancestral land peacefully. So this is my message for my fellow citizens in Myanmar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ShweMaung, for that. And we hope that we can take up the discussion after the presentations are over on elections in Burma. So ShweMaung, you were in Burma at that time while this was going on. Can you pinpoint to us what you witnessed on Facebook, how it has been a source of a tool for anti-genocide work, but then has been a tool for genocide?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, two things. We have many, because of time limit, let me share 2 points. First, the president office spokesperson Uzo Te was publicly telling and sharing on his Facebook and Twitter that Muslims are burning their home themselves. But later on, we figured it out. So those women who are burning the houses, they are not Muslim. The government hired some Hindu women from Maung Township to create that story. It means they are want to hide or the crimes what they committed. That is one issue. And secondly, I read myself a post of Senior General Maung, who is still military chief. They said they need to go ahead with the unfinished business of about these Bengali people. So when we read that post, we understand that that unfinished business is to finish Rohingya people from their ancestral land, which is an instigatory what for cleansing of Rohingya and for the expulsion of Rohingya from their motherland. So that is what happened in 2017. I think these two are very significant ones. We have many more. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Benchmarks are definitely something. And what would those benchmarks be, ShweMaung? That would be something that we'd like to, you perhaps to answer. What would those benchmarks look like for a incoming U.S. administration?
Since I arrived US in 2015, I have been working with Foreign Affairs Committee of US House. So especially with the former chairman, Honorable Ed Rice. So it's very helpful. So even that Foreign Affairs Committee of the House was able, you see, to adopt a resolution at the House that the atrocity and crimes against humanity happen against Rohingya in Burma is a genocide. This is a significant achievement, but the Senate has not yet approved that one. But again, in this current Foreign Affairs Committee, we have another hero, is Congressman Brett Sherman. I'm very close to him. So both former chairman and the current committee member, Congressman Brett Sherman, they are focusing for the protection and safety of Rohingya. Because we need to consider about the option B. If Myanmar government doesn't listen, international community for the protection and the safety of the Rohingya, what is the next? These two honorable congressmen, we are talking about this next level, which is we need to have a safer place inside our motherland Arkan state. We call it safe zone. So that is in terms of Congress. But in terms of administration, as far as I have been working, dealing with State Department, the policy is very good. I'm confident State Department has enough information, evidence, what happened against Rohingya. But I understand still US administration has not yet declared the atrocity as genocide. Hopefully, I think it's within a situation. So also I expect in this forthcoming election in November 2020, US election, there will be more congressmen and also new administration will have focus on our issue. So I'm very confident about that.
ShweMaung, would you like to?
Actually, we Rohingya people want to live on our ancestral land very peacefully, side by side, together with our brothers and sisters of the Rakhine community. But according to history, what Myanmar government is doing is they're playing, you see, among these two communities. Sometimes they favor Rakhine, then they oppress Rohingya community. Sometimes they favor Rohingya community and they ignore the Rakhine community. But now it is more, crystal clear now. In this time, the Myanmar government is not favoring any community. It means Rohingyas are under persecution. The genocide happened in 2017. Even now, our brothers and sisters of the Rakhine community, they are under persecution now. So in this regard, what we Rohingya and the Rakhine leaders realize that it is time to be united and to speak for another and to live side by side peacefully. That is what we want. I saw a lot of signs from a number of Rakhine leaders, for this peaceful coexistence, especially from the yesterday roundtable meeting. But the problem is what Myanmar government will do. In this week, from I think August 12 to 14, there's a Union Peace Conference. In this 21st century Pelong Union Peace Conference, Rohingya were never included, but Rakhines are also not included in this time. So it means we both communities are suffering. We are not safe. We are first time unsafe together. So if this is situation, of course, we have been outcrying, to international community to solve our problem. So international community has reached so much. So now I would like to highlight the three pillars of responsible protect, in which Myanmar is a signatory, because the whole world leaders agree with 2005, these are 2P principle. So as all we are aware, according to pillar one, Myanmar is responsible to protect all their citizens, including minority groups. Myanmar failing. Pillar 2, international community needs to help Myanmar so that Myanmar government could give enough protection and safety. That looks like also failed. Now we are at the stage of pillar 3. But pillar 3 is very unclear. Still, I don't understand what is the message, what is the written exactly. They said international community responds with the appropriate technique. So whatever the technique, I would like to mention that now it is time to think about that pillar 3. So in that sense, if we, Rohingya and Rakhines, both communities are unsafe, so we are dying on our own land. So how long we need to wait? What international community will do more? I think now is done more than enough. So this is why I have been talking about this safe zone. Safe zone is not the first option. This is option B or C. Our first option is, of course, I fully agree, our government must restore our all rights. Our government, Myanmar government, is responsible to give full protection and to treat equally every ethnic minority. But in reality, it's not happening. So now we need to think about option B. It's not what we want, but situation is telling, push into that situation. So in that sense, what I highlighted is a safe zone or a safe place, because our land is unsafe and unprotected. So people are not born to be killed by Myanmar military and local security forces. That we, Rohingya and Rakhine, are same people, we have same dignity as all other human beings in this world. So this is why, so we have been talking about safe zone. Also, I understand some organizations, some leaders, they are also have some worries about the safe zone, because in safe zone situation, we have a lot of negative scenario. But the thing is, we are already in the very bad situation. So this is why, so we need to think about this option B and the safe zone or safe place. So if we talk about that, if we step up this action, then maybe Myanmar government will come forward. So we'll have a solution. So in this regard, you see, so also I expect international community from in the forthcoming U.S. Congress and U.S. administration, so they can do this thing or implement efficiently, effectively.
In all of this so far, as we've been, even yesterday's roundtable was a really amazing step towards solidarity between ethnic groups, and we'll see where that goes. What else can the diaspora do, perhaps, that you haven't seen being done? If I could ask the three of you that question. That's something that, we're really pleased to see so many more Rohingya voices speaking up, so many more Rohingya youth voices speaking up, as well as Kachin and Karen voices, youth voices that we hadn't heard before. Matthew, Andrea, ShweMaung, what else can the diaspora be doing that is not being done yet?
Actually, what I see in Rohingya and other ethnic minority diasporas are, they are working hard. See, they are really doing their jobs. I appreciate that. But as per your question, Sister Hannah, what I have not seen is a collective voice of all ethnic minorities of Burma. So we have Rakhine, Karen, Kachin, and Rohingya, and each minority group has a number of organizations. So what I notice is all community leaders are leaders representing their ethnic people is based on organization. So let me talk about my Rohingya community rather than other minority groups. So first of all, I want to request that what I was talking about is constructive way, positive way for better and efficient advocacy. So Rohingya community leaders, especially Rohingya leaders from all organizations, they need to have a collective voice. For what I have been working now very seriously for last 2 to 3 months is now very progressing. I believe very soon we will have a collective voice. Similarly, I want to have the collective voice of our brothers, Rakhine, Karen, Kachin, and etc. So according to our roundtable meeting yesterday, we, a number of organizations representing the ethnic minorities of Burma, agreed to form a network group. So from that network group, after a brainstorming session, I hope we will be able to form an organization which can advance our all ethnic issues with momentum. So if we do separately, our advocacy effort will be very weak, and it's very difficult to achieve our respective goals. So also, I am very positive, but as of now, it's not yet happened, but let me conclude saying we have already a seed of that growth yesterday. So I hope I'm very hopeful starting from next month meeting. So we have a unified network group which can advance our rights. In that group, I think not only the Rohingya, all ethnic will have a united voice. So that will be the most important voice regarding human rights violation in Burma. So that we are very hopeful, but as of now, it not yet happened. But I think it will happen very soon. I'm very confident.
Thank you for that. So one question is, this is the kind of like out of the box thinking perhaps that we need more of, is can a new model of citizenship be possible in Burma with citizenship based on place of birth, not on ethnicity? ShweMaung?
Yeah, it is a big question. I think if we talk about citizenship based on birth, what is a practice worldwide, but in our country, it is not happening. According to former immigration minister, so he said the 1982 citizenship law was prepared based on blood, not based on birth. It means they want only to recognize 135 ethnics of Burma, which this it's a, they did not include Rohingya, Pathi, and other important minority. So while my meeting with President Obama on November 14, 2014, also I discussed this issue because the citizenship card, what we are using in Burma, they're emphasizing the religion and ethnic name. So when they write ethnic and religion name, that citizenship card is become like a license to discriminate religiously and racially. So instead of doing that, if Myanmar government want to implement a new format of citizenship card, not new type of citizen, new card system. According to Myanmar Immigration Act and 1982 citizenship law, it's not necessary to write the religion and ethnic name on their respective cards. An ID, name, place of birth, date of birth, and address and gender, that should be enough. So when we have this kind of standard uniform ID card, so there will be, you see, less room to discriminate citizen racially and the religiously. So it's very good idea, but the thing is, it depends on the willingness of Myanmar government as well as Ministry of Immigration in Myanmar. They said they want to introduce a smart card which will not include race and religious name, but it's not happening as of today.
Thank you. Andrea, in your work in the Burma's lawyer as a fellow with the Burma Lawyers Council, what would your reply to be to this suggestion? How hard is it? Where all I'm just trying to understand what the mechanism would be like. And I understand, as ShweMaung had said, there needs to be a will by the government, but is there a mechanism for it?
Well, I mean, I can only speak on behalf of the Holocaust Museum, not Burma Lawyers Council, but I mean, is it possible? Yes, it would require amending the citizenship law. So yes, it's possible, but it would have to follow the legislative process. And there would be nothing kind of beyond that, or no, other process required. But I mean, changing a law would creating any kind of law would require political will, which, as ShweMaung has said, there really hasn't been a lot of advancements since. So if we think about what's possible, sure. I mean, it would be possible legally, process-wise. There's no kind of new system that would have to be created or anything like that. But creating the political will for something like this is, I think, would be quite enormous, knowing that my fellow panelists know much more about the situation in the country than I do. I would say, though, that when we think about genocide prevention, the issue of citizenship looms large, and that restoring citizenship by amending the law, which would be the way to do it, is the key way to prevent genocide in the future. And I know there are concerns about Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh being able to return home. I mean, they will not be able to return home to a place where they are unsafe and where they face the risk of genocide. So some pretty serious changes need to be made within Burma in order to make the situation safe enough for them to go back. And this would be one example of something that would make that the case.
Citizenship issue is a big concern for our Rohingya crisis. I think it depends on only willingness of government. The Myanmar president or state councillor asks immigration department, that will be done. Because according to section 42 of 1948 citizenship law and section 6 of 1982 citizenship law, we are eligible for full-fledged citizenship. But the thing is, with the policy, Myanmar government is not implementing. All Rohingya submitted their citizenship application according to 1982 law in 1990, when we have first election. But the whole Myanmar, they issue citizenship card. The government did not issue, only Rohingya. So from 1990 to 2010, for the 20 years, Rohingya suffered. Actually, Rohingya were not stateless. You see, they have state. Our state is before Arkhan's kingdom and later the Myanmar, but government intentionally made us stateless. So now let me conclude. If government is willing to do, the solution is just one word, just one order from the president office or state councilor office. They need to instruct immigration department, do it. Then they can implement it. They don't need to change or amend any law with existing laws, which is 1982 citizenship law. So all our Rohingya people are eligible for full-fledged citizenship. But the problem is they are not willing. So there also the format of, to change the format of the citizenship card is, we don't need to pass a law at the parliament. Also, this is it can be done by the immigration department internally. They don't need a separate legislation from the parliament. They can do it. But as I said earlier, willingness is very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that update, ShweMaung.